The inflation is galloping, the oil is spilling, the vampires are celebrating, the people are complaining, the authorities are stealing. But hey, this is typical Russia. What else is new? Well, there's something new this week. The biggest news of the week is another batch of economic sanctions could turn out deadly for Vladimir Putin. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Welcome to Weekends. I give you crazy news updates straight out of the mad circus that Russia has unfortunately become. 2025 is here. By the way it's beginning, we can say that it'll be a tough year for Russia and the Russian people, its citizens. And this could be the last year for Vladimir Putin. But first things first, there is no such absurdity that cannot be realized in Russia these days. Please remember that. In the news, I call them crazy news from Russia. The news of Russia that matter and that you will not find in any mainstream media. I always try to begin crazy news update with a fresh Putin joke. But today, this is the first update of the year. Week 1 review of the news from Russia. So I'd better make it very special. Check out this. This is Russia's Minister of Finance, Anton Siluanov. He's actually doing a very good job playing the drums. I think so. The minister has a great deal of control over Russian economy. Russian economy is, well, how do I say that nicely, correctly, politically correctly, falling apart. And I'd rather, well, we all would rather see the Minister of Finance working on designing new economic policies, keeping people afloat or whatever. But he's playing drums. A pretty grotesque start of the year, if you ask me. To be completely fair, Siluanov gifted the drum set to a boy from Orenburg, one of Russia's cities, after he stopped playing. It was nice of him. Now, let's get straight to the news. Let me start with a natural news piece first. Gazprom, Russia's natural gas state-owned monopoly, received a new gift. Well, can I say Christmas gift or New Year gift? It received some kind of a huge gift. You see Vladimir Putin right next to his old buddy and colleague. They used to work together in St. Petersburg starting 1990. Alexei Miller, the head of Gazprom, the hero of Russia, standing right next to the Tsar. Well, Gazprom had its license for the development of Kavyktinskaya gas field, the largest gas field in eastern Russia by gas reserves, extended until the end of 2242. That's right, you heard that right, 2242. The data comes from the United State Registry of Legal Entities. That's official information. It can be trusted. 2242. Kavyktinskaya natural gas field is the base of the formation of Irkutsk Gas Production Center and the resource base for the power of Siberia, Sila Siberia gas pipeline going to China. It is a brand new gas production field, well, relatively brand new. The extraction there began in September of 2022. The plant production capacity at the Kavyktinskaya field is 27 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year. The previous license was issued until 2042, which seemed adequate enough. And Putin gave the order to extend the license to Gazprom for another 200 years. At first sight, that decision doesn't make any sense. 200 years is too long. Why 200 years? 20 years, okay. 30 years, okay. Even 40, but 200 years. So why did Putin do that? I think he knows, and everyone around Putin know, that the inevitable is coming up. Russia is going to fall into pieces. And this 200-year extension is an attempt to keep Gazprom, Russia's sweetest business asset really, in the hands of its current owners, or whoever they decide will come after Putin. 2025 is starting off with a lot of fun. Well, another news is about government control, and there will be plenty more of that in 2025. I promise you that. Russian Senator Mikhail Ivanov found another source of Russia's problems. You see, it's not the war with Ukraine. It's not the invasion. It's not the corruption. It's not the vertical of power. It's not inefficient management. It's not lack of freedoms. No. The Netflix current series called the Squid Game, right here, that's the source of Russia's problems. The good Senator Ivanov wants the Squid Game to be recognized and labeled as extremist material. That means an immediate ban everywhere in Russia. People will not only be banned to watch it, and the companies will be banned to show it, but even using photos from the series, like I'm doing right now, using screenshots, perhaps even mentioning it, will be a crime. According to good Senator Ivanov, the Squid Game spreads the wrong moral guidelines throughout Russia. It promotes murder, violence, and brutality. After all, it comes from the satanic West, evil West, and it has criminal and rotten values, as we know. So, the Russian state must protect its citizens from being tempted by this evil series, the Squid Game. And if Russian citizens will continue to watch it despite the ban, somehow they will circumvent the ban, somehow they will find it on the internet. They must be identified, arrested, prosecuted, and thrown to Gulag. For their own safety, of course, to keep the good values. Oh, you just wait. After the Squid Game is banned in Russia in 2025 by the parliament, Russia will undergo a revival, because the Squid Game obviously is the reason of all Russian problems. Good Senator Ivanov will make Russia great again. Mark my words. No, not my words, I'm sorry. Senator Ivanov's words. We'll see how it turns out in a few months. The Squid Game, well, I know. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at the Squid Game. In January, just in a few days after the New Year, Russian parliament plans to make a serious decision on the protection of its citizens, especially children, from destructive content, said the Speaker of the lower house of Russian Parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin. I quote Volodin, "There are many plots in video games containing aggression, violence, and propaganda of values alien to us." I unquote. Again, lots of plots containing aggression, violence, and, most important, propaganda of values alien to us. I was born and grew up in Russia. I lived in the USA. I lived in Ukraine. I've lived in Uzbekistan. Anywhere I go, the values are pretty much the same. It's love, it's decency, it's friends, neighbors, children, families, things like that. But obviously not in Russia, because Russia finds these values alien to them. Makes you think, right? In 2025, in Russia, George Orwell's 1984 starts looking more and more like a child's play. Actually, the next news comes from a large hydropower plant located in central Russia. There was a fire in this power plant. I believe the fire happened in a turbine hall. It was not reported, but it was filmed by passerbyers. Now, I know this power plant very well. It's a hydropower plant. It's a part of Volsky Cascade. It sits right on Volga River. Okay, and let me tell you something. Watch it again. It's pretty darn big fire. Let me tell you a thing or two about fires and hydro plants. Well, first of all, there were no reports of Ukrainian drones attacking the hydropower plant, hitting it. It was just fire. It looked like a fire appeared. It's either lack of discipline or the equipment failure. In any way, it's a pretty bad sign to have a fire at a power plant. Power plant is all about discipline. It's all about myriads of instructions and following those instructions up to a T. Because power plant, hey, it's a very dangerous facility with tons of equipment inside, very delicate, very highly moving, okay, spinning, lots of steam, very dangerous environment, and everything must be maintained well and operated to the last comma in the instructions. And a fire just shouldn't happen there. And when something like that happens at a hydropower plant, things are bad. Again, it's a pretty bad sign. Waiting for more breakdowns and fires to come. Now let's move to the economic news of the week one. First, an investment program of Russian Railways Corporation, state-owned monopoly. Let's talk about that. Well, what's so special about investment program for 2025 of RZD? What's the big deal? Why do we have to talk about that? Why am I bringing this up? Very important, actually. The new investment program was approved on the 28th of December, when most Russians were already celebrated, and it was not really covered in the news. It went kind of silent. It is a big deal because the company is just gigantic, ginormous, okay? It owns all railroad tracks, all trains, all cars, and it moves all passengers in Russia. Okay, ginormous. And there's no news of a big thing such as an investment program. Because in the previous years, it made splashes. Well, the reason they did not report this year is the investment program of RZD has been cut by 40% compared to the investment program of 2024. Russian Railways Corporation is owned by the state and it gets its financing from the state. The drastic cut in state's financing of RZD means only one thing. Russian government is out of money. That's one of the signs that shows the depth of the economic disaster happening in Russia. The next news is from a very interesting fellow, from a car dealer. Denis Mikhay, the vice president of Russia's Association of Car Dealers. And he's a car dealer himself. He's the general director of a large car dealership, national, with branches nationwide. So Denis warned Russians that 2025 will not be a good year for car owners and potential car buyers. Cars in Russia are expected to increase in price by a record 50% in 2025, by the end of 2025. The increase in prices is expected to begin soon, and it will intensify in the second part of the year. The price increase will affect all cars, including used cars. You see, usually used cars drop in prices by about 10 to 15% per year. And for some cars, price decreases are even higher than 15%. But that's in normal countries. Russia is absolutely different. See, Russian officials always say Russia has its own special way in the world. That's right. Definitely among car dealers it does. Not in 2025. Mikhay says, no, the used cars will not drop in price in 2025. They will raise in price by 50% as well. The used cars will also increase in prices by 50%. That's the true economic miracle, friends. That's the miracle on wheels. But wait, it gets even better. The vice president of the industry association that includes all Russia's car dealers, suggested that Russians should stop buying new cars this year and continue driving their old cars until the market situation returns to normal or at least improves a little bit. You heard me right. The vice president of the Industry Association of Car Dealers told Russians not to buy cars. Now, this is exactly what happens when a Russian man gets sober and starts telling the truth. The cars sold in Russia, both new and used, will increase in price by at least a half. And Russians should stop buying new cars. They should turn on the frugality mode. You know what? I agree with this guy completely. I agree with his every single word. It goes in line with everything I forecast about Russia for this year and the following years. I think the cars will become more and more unaffordable, just like in the USSR. And I also agree that Russians should stop buy new cars. Okay, they simply won't be able to afford them. So nice news. Well, too bad we don't hear such sober, honest reports from Russian officials more often. Another insightful news is from Russia's banking industry. Here's some data for you. It's in Russian, but I'll explain what it means. More than 80% of Russian personal account deposits are placed in only 6 major Russian banks. At the same time, more than half of the deposits are in accounts with just 2 banks, Sberbank and VTB. That's not a healthy situation for the industry. If only one of those gargantuan, ginormous banks all of a sudden, for one reason or another, has troubles, goes under, then the domino effect will start, and each fall of the major one, that fall of each one of major 6 major banks will create a huge boom that will be heard not only in Russia, throughout the world. Mark my words, there will be a crisis in Russia's banking industry in 2025, and there will be more than one big boom. You know what? Let's do something unusual for a change. Let's listen to ChatGPT for a change. Yep. Let the robots work and speak for a change, not me. How much should I earn in 2025 to be among or above 50% of richest Russians? And the ChatGPT, that's the question. How much should I earn every month to be among richest 50% of Russian citizens? And the ChatGPT answers. I quote ChatGPT, if you earn more than 50,000 rubles per month, well, 46, that's roughly $451, then you will be among 50% of richest Russians. 46,000 rubles equals $451. Want to feel rich with just $451 in your pocket? Come to Russia in 2025. You will be richer than every second person you meet on the street. Well, I guess that's how great economically Russia has become. Vladimir Putin's been bragging about it, how Russian economy is so strong. Well, this is it. This is the results, Forget about talking the talk. Let's walk the walk. That's what's important. So grab $451, put it in your pocket, and you will feel rich. I know, Russia is truly not affected by the international sanctions. Thank you, Vladimir Putin, for your leadership and wonderful guidance. Just in case, that was a sarcasm, okay? I don't think that Putin did a good job. And a true economic miracle now. I want to tell you something, quite something. Oh, you're going to love it. New Year's miracle that Russians really didn't expect. Well, I kind of did, but I didn't expect it to be that miraculous, if you know what I mean. So check this out. Time of the year. Ding dong ding. Oh, whoops. What is that? What is that, friends? Oh, check this out. It kind of looks familiar, right? Well, because it does. It's a cheeseburger. The cheeseburger at what used to be McDonald's, that's the fast food joint that most likely you visited and ate there. So it's a regular cheeseburger. Used to be a McDonald's. Now it's called Tasty Period. I know. It's quite a wonderful name for the fast food restaurant. So the cheeseburger almost doubled in price overnight from 31st of December to 1st of January, from costing 59 rubles in December to 103 rubles in January. Few hours apart. 59 rubles is about 55 cents and 103 rubles is about $1, So that's actually a huge news. I find it a huge news. It's a very important sign of Russia's economy demise. The inflation is skyrocketing. No matter what the officials are telling you and me, they are lying. All you have to do is go to what used to be McDonald's, this freaking name, Tasty Period, and try to get their cheeseburger. And that's all you have to do. Don't forget talking the talk. Walk the walk. That is the face of the skyrocketing inflation that I talk about all the time. There will be more price increases like that in the very near future. Well, I talked about it extensively in the previous months, and we are hearing and seeing it happening loud and clear now. Now, let me jump to the next news. I gotta put myself together for this one because it's very personal and it. All right. The next news actually hurts. It hurts me and it hurts a few people that I discussed it this morning. Check this out. Take a good look at these people. Nice party. The rich Russians threw a huge party in an expensive winter resort called Courchevel in the French Alps in France. These people that I just showed you are war profiteers who support what Russia is doing to Ukraine. And yet they're welcomed to European Union, to France, with arms wide open. We discussed it in the Tashkent Breakfast Club. I showed this video to everyone I saw this morning. And we all have the same opinion. It hurts every one of us. We fled Russia. We have stood up against Russian aggression, Russian totalitarianism. We are prosecuted and oppressed for that by the Russian government, but our own country, our own government that we are supposed to choose and nominate, give some power to work for us, but we're oppressed. We feel like we're the stray dogs. The Russian government is after us. And on top of that, the West is also prosecuting us. We aren't even allowed to pass through European Union on our way somewhere. And we must choose like very long routes, let alone just come to Europe, England, France, No. And what do we see in Courchevel? The bloodthirsty vampires. Look at their faces. They're right there, they're welcomed to France. The French say, hey, you Russians supporting the killing of Ukrainians in the invasion of Ukraine? Oh, we like that. France is with you. Come in. Here's your visas. Come party, celebrate, drink our wonderful champagne. Rest up and go back to Russia to produce more drones and tanks to kill more Ukrainians. We have your back. We're the French, we'll support you. You can come and hang out with us and celebrate anytime you like. And that's exactly what this video looks like. I am Russian. I am guilty of what my country is doing to Ukraine and its people. I am accepting the responsibility. And I have been paying for that. And make no mistake, I accept the punishment. I am not complaining right now that I'm not allowed to go to France. No. I am accepting the punishment, and I'm okay with that. I understand why I am not being allowed. There are plenty of other punishments too. It's not just not traveling to European Union. But when you punish us, the defenseless people with at least some remorse and empathy in our hearts, us who have accepted responsibility, us who are doing something, at least trying, and you punish us and you simultaneously reward those who openly support Putin, profiteering the war and openly celebrating the killings of Ukrainians, just like they did in Courchevel a few days ago. That hurts, I'm being completely open with you. That's how I'm feeling, and that's how our other Russians here in Tashkent, who I have honor to call my friends, and I consider good, decent, loving people, that's how they feel too. You know what? Let me make a statement right now. Even if you keep doing just that, punish us, punish me, and embrace, accept, and reward those who take pride in destroying Ukraine and killing Ukrainians, and even if you celebrate along with them drinking your wonderful champagne, I will still choose this miserable place I am at right now. I may have lost everything that I had in Russia. I may have not physically feeling safe. Hey, I saw another agent following me this morning, I may not have future, but I stay here. I choose to stay here. I'm not with them in Courchevel. I'm on the other side, okay? Whew. Before moving to the next news, you know what? Let me take this opportunity to thank you watching me right now. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting. Thank you for your wonderful emails. Thank you those who were just with me a couple hours ago in a private live stream for patrons only. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymecoffee.com. Thank you for Patreon, being patrons. Thanks for PayPal. You're pretty much the only ones I have left for support. So I am thanking you very much. And no matter what I do, no matter where I am, no matter demonetized, monetized, whatever, I promise I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing. So thank you so very much. Now, let's jump back to the news. The next news comes from the caring Russian authorities. They're good, what can I say? They are very good. They love Russian people so much that they want Russian people to travel more internationally and vacation more. And these wonderful authorities, they even find new destinations for Russian people. According to Russian Senator Alexei Chepa, the deputy head of the International Affairs Committee, by the way, North Korea is an interesting and peculiar country in which there's something to see. There's quite a lot to see. Therefore, Russian tourists need to be helped to get cheaper flights and, ways to get to North Korea. The interest of Russians in traveling in North Korea should be increased, says Chepa. Nice. I wonder if Chepa himself has ever vacationed in North Korea. I wonder if he has visited there even once. I wonder if he enjoyed the infamous North Korean hospitality, Unreal. I wonder if the next step will be they will make it mandatory for the Russians to visit North Korea. The next news is from the city of Kazan. That's a good one too. I call this type of news only in Russia. In June of this year, in June of this past year, 2024, still getting used to this new year. So in June of 2024, the authorities in Kazan had wonderful news for the residents of Kazan. The Kazan City Hall employees reported that 2,207 shelters were constructed or fully renovated, ready fully to use. The 2,207 shelters were ready to use. 2,200 shelters. Now, Kazan is a large city. It's over 1 million people. Well, obviously, they need lots of shelters. The city hall people conveniently hid the information on how much they spent renovating and building these new shelters. How much, was actually spent in reality on these facilities. They're expensive, these shelters. And they're all financed by the federal budget of Russian Federation. So 2,200 modern, up-to-date, expensive shelters were ready in June. Remember that. It just happened that at the end of 2024, Kazan went under numerous Ukrainian drone attacks. If you are attacked by a drone, you need shelters, obviously, right? During the attacks, the Kazan residents tried to use numerous brand new expensive shelters. They ran to shelters. Hey, I imagine all of a sudden you have sirens saying, everyone, please find a safe place. We're under drone attack. And you run to safety. Where? To the shelters. Well, it's just they learned that there weren't any shelters. Some people did manage to make their way into basements of apartment blocks, only to find dirty rooms with rats. And last week, signs about the lack of shelters were hung on the house's apartment blocks all over Kazan. And this is how they look like. Attention! The basement of your apartment block is not usable for sheltering. The closest shelter and, this address. 2,200 fully renovated shelters full of brand new furniture, equipped with some probably air filtration systems, equipped, stored with food, medical supplies. Imagine 2,200 shelters. and they're completely invisible. Holy moly, that's a breakthrough. Only in Russia. That's how I call it. By the way, there will be many more news just like that. And if you want to keep up with other breaking news, if you want to know everything that is Russia today, I suggest you check out Inside Russia Patreon account. It is full of news. I carefully select 9 news every day that I find important. I add my commentaries and analysis, and I make them available to patrons of Inside Russia. So if you want to stay on top of things, didn't know where to look no further, sign up, become a patron, get access to all the news. You'll be an expert on Russia. You'll keep up with me. I'm gonna place links down below after this live stream ends. Check it out. The next news comes from the towns along the Black Sea. Well, this news is actually an update. As you know, an ecological catastrophe happened 2 weeks ago. 2 oil tankers, a part of Putin's shadow oil fleet, helping Putin circumvent the sanctions placed on Russian oil industry, they broke down before the new year and spilled thousands of tons of oil into the Black Sea. I made 2 live streams about that, and I would like to give you an update, because one picture tells a better story than 100 words and 1,000 words, and one video tells a better story than 100 pictures. So here it is. It's just a local resident introducing himself, saying that he lives nearby. And then he came out to clean the beach because there's a catastrophe. It says he cries every day. This is the best beach in the town of Anapa. Says he lives nearby. He can't even breathe. The stench from the oil is so bad. It says unbelievable. He says they're lacking equipment. There is no equipment. All these people are volunteers, and there's plenty of people. All locals actually have come up to clean, but they don't have any equipment. And the equipment is supposed to be provided by Russian state. Where is the equipment, everyone is asking? Where are the government employees? Where is the Ministry of Emergency Affairs? I mean, they're well financed, and these people, they're volunteers, they're not getting paid for what they do. That's a dolphin. People, the volunteers are trying to save birds.
Смотрите, держите ее так, чтобы вы лапки держали. Вот так. Согните лапки, прижмите к животу.
There's another video for you.
Охереть. Вот это жижа.
Again, these are volunteers. They're not government officials. I doubt they know what they're doing because they're using a small plastic bag for this thing. These are the best beaches of Anapa, Krasnodar province. That's pretty much the best Russia has to offer on the Black Sea. There's a real disaster there. Fuel, oil from the sunken Russian tankers continues to wash ashore. And that's a terrible sight, as you just saw. Again, the volunteers are trying to clean up because that's where they live. That's their home. And the government, there's no government. Well, let me tell you something. I want to show you another video. And that's pretty unbelievable too. Okay? It's not the spilling has ended. The oil spilling continues. Check this out. Now, you see oil spilled here. Obviously, it's spilled all over Russian coast right now. But look at this. There's an abandoned oil tanker, and it keeps on spilling oil. There are barely people there, just a couple guys, and there's no one around. That floating barrier, I mean, I'm not an expert, but what I'm seeing, it's not really stopping any oil from spreading, okay? Look at this. There is no one. This is completely abandoned. Friends, what is this? Check this again. Where is the plastic barrier on the other side? This is a very strange video, and it's a very strange sight. The oil tanker is abandoned. Now, this is how I understand the situation, right? The oil spill happened. All right, things happen. But there should be thousands and thousands government officials. There should be army, there should be excavators, bulldozers, tons of heavy machinery, tons of, rescue efforts, and everyone should be just running around trying to minimize the damage. This is how I see the situation. There's literally not anyone seen around this vessel. The vessel is abandoned. It's just hanging there right on the coast. It's unbelievable. The latest update. The KGB has started detaining the volunteers. They aren't, well, at least so far, they haven't been charged with anything. There have been 2 cases. They don't explain why they detain people and question them for hours. One lady complained, well, she told a story, she was detained and questioned for 4 hours nonstop. I don't know why they're doing it, but I have a pretty good idea. Again, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but the only reasonable explanation is that they're trying to scare people. People who are vocal about this tragedy, who are upfront, who are helping, who are trying to clean up, filming it and spreading the truth. They're trying to stop that. They're trying to hide the information about the spill and the consequences. Now, the next news comes from city of Mariupol. Mariupol is a very known place and a very tragic place. It's a city that was thriving when it was, well, peaceful, should I say. I've personally been to Mariupol a few times. I drove through it. It had a Azovstal, a huge enterprise, and you could not notice it. would notice anywhere from any part of the city, and it was a thriving city. Well, things changed. The residents of Mariupol are turning to Vladimir Putin, begging him for help. Check this out.
Уважаемый Владимир Владимирович, к вам как президенту и гаранту Конституции в канун
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich,
собственники квартир.
we are the owners of the apartments and they give in the addresses. We are addressing you directly.
Российской Федерации, которые пострадали в результате боевых.
We are the citizens of Russian Federation, the victims of the bombings of the war.
И фактически являемся бомжами с пропиской
Now we're bums.
по данному адресу.
We have the citizenship. We used to live in Ukraine. Now we live in Russia. You gave us passports,
Обещание местных
but
властей в ближайшее время обеспечить
our apartments were destroyed. Apartment blocks were destroyed in the war. We were promised 2 years ago
где остались котлованы
to be given new apartments, but we have been lied.
от наших домов, вы можете видеть забор, за которым в ближайшее время начнется строительство ипотечного комплекса. Данный участок был отдан под ипотечное строительство главой Донецкой народной
So basically-
больше не будет. Возможности купить жилье в ипотеку
So basically, it's a very long video, and this lady is telling that instead of rebuilding their apartment blocks that they lived in, they were at least at first they were promised they would be given new apartments in the apartment blocks, and now the local authorities are saying we don't have any money. We're gonna build this apartment blocks. You take out mortgages and you go and buy them. And these people are addressing Putin, begging him to help. This is what is currently happening in the city of Mariupol. But Mariupol is not only city, I have another place near Archangel that never saw the war in the last couple hundred years. A pretty peaceful place. No one bombed it. No one did anything to it. Okay. But the locals also begging Vladimir Putin. Check out this another video. By the way, the city of Archangel, that's a sister city of Portland, Maine.
Владимир Владимирович, здравствуйте. К вам обращаются жители деревни Труфаново, Пинежского района Архангельской области. Проблема, которую мы сейчас озвучим, не только наша проблема. К нашему обращению присоединяются жители еще 12 деревень.
Well, basically, there are 5 minutes, and what they're explaining is that for almost 2 months now, they're saying we have had no communication with the cities and towns, and basically we're isolated. No food, no goods are being delivered, no postal service no post has been delivered. Nothing is possible. Those who work shifts some other places, towns and cities, simply cannot return home or to go to work. And most importantly, we cannot get appointments at the hospital. We don't have access to healthcare. Ambulances and emergency services are not available to us. 5 minutes. They are telling their stories for 5 minutes. Okay? One of the stories is pretty dramatic. They're telling the story of a man who broke his leg and the bone was sticking out of it. And he couldn't get to a hospital. Took them a few days to get him to a hospital. They are begging Vladimir Putin for help. Notice how these two videos are similar. This is Mariupol,
Уважаемый Владимир Владимирович, к вам как президенту и гаранту
and this is near Archangel.
К вам обращаются жители деревни Труфаново, Пинежского района Архангельской области.
I don't know. Do you folks notice something odd here? Notice how these people, regular people, hardworking people, normal people, they feel that their lives are in hands of the Tsar, who controls everything. And they beg the Tsar to get the most basic things that they are entitled to. The roads, education, healthcare, food supply, goods supply. They're paying taxes to the state to provide all of that. I feel sorry for these people, and at the same time I don't. And that's a perfect example of how people give the control of their lives to somebody, and that somebody abuses these people and does whatever he wants with them. These two videos are actually a warning to you. Don't get your politicians. Don't let your politicians get out of control, because you're gonna end up being in place of these people, begging your politicians to, give you some food or access to healthcare. So watch out. The next news is the utilities. Oh boy, I've been watching the utilities very closely. It's one of those things I've been forecasting for the utilities to start breaking. Not even a forecast for me. I am sure it will happen. Well, it has started happening. Why am I so sure? Because I know how the utilities work. I know I was constructing power plants for 20 years. Okay, I know what it takes to construct a power plant. I know what it takes to maintain it, operate it. Well, Russia is kind of in luck this year because it's enjoying a very mild winter, at least so far, January 11th. But even in this mild winter, things break down and people are left in danger. This is what happened in the city of Yakutsk. I want you to check out this video. They're trying to fix a boiler plant. 7 in the morning. Again, take a closer look. This is a very interesting video. Now, where do I even start? Oh boy. Now, again, watch it. Let me tell you a thing or two about boiler room. It shouldn't look like this. This is a disaster. This is, my friends, this is a disaster. The residents of Yakutsk were left, Zhigansk, a city next to Yakutsk, were left without heating due to an accident that happened at a local boiler plant. And that boiler plant, looking at this video and judging at the picture, I tell you, this isn't how a boiler plant should be kept and should be operated. That is a disaster already. No wonder it broke down. But there's a little thing to know for you. Outside, as this fellow's fixing it, outside there was minus 50 Celsius, minus 58 Fahrenheit. 50 Celsius, minus 58 Fahrenheit. Have you even been into the weather of minus 50 Celsius? The coldest I've been is minus 37, and let me tell you something. You feel the chill in 1 minute. I flew from Moscow to northern Kazakhstan to present our commercial offer to an aluminum plant. So we wanted to construct a high voltage substation. And it was minus 37. And I stepped out of the car and I literally stood outside for 2 minutes, and my suit I was wearing a suit, and I started freezing. Okay, minus 50. This is insane. And the authorities, they're being cool. They asked the local residents to remain calm and not to use electric heaters. The accident occurred at the boiler house on January 4th. Several boilers failed at once. No wonder, looking at that boiler room. The temperature inside the apartments, of a regular residence dropped to about 3 Celsius, a little bit above freezing, water freezing point. And the authorities then started asking everyone to remain calm and not panic. Imagine you have, you live in an apartment and it's minus 50 outside, and you don't have any heat inside, and you have kids, perhaps small kids. And then the authorities, the good local authorities, whatever, the mayor, come out and say, hey, don't panic, stay calm. And you just don't panic and you stay calm, okay? Dmitry Sadovnikov, the first deputy chairman of the government of Sakha Republic, that's the province of Yakutia, said that the launch of all boilers was being postponed due to a technical problem. No shit, Sherlock. At this point, we have no news coming from Yakutsk about this problem. We know that the boilers failed on January 4th. Are they back into operation fixed? We don't know that. Well, the residents were saying that they were aware that the boiler house technicians had been asking for spare parts for these boilers for 2 years without any luck prior to the accidents. Okay? So this is one of the faces of the utility disaster that is happening in Russia. Now, let me show you another video. That's what happened in the city of Dmitrov, not too far from Moscow. That's hot water, by the way. In Dmitrov, near the maternity hospital, 2 cars fell into huge pits with hot water. The road just caved in. Well, this is what happens when you stop maintaining roads, facilities, pumps, pipelines, and so forth. They start breaking. And that's exactly what happened. Again, check this out. Fairly usual sight for Russia for 2025 and late 2024. And now I want to show you the city where I was born and grew up, Rostov-on-Don. It's situated on the river Don, which is, a large river, beautiful river. A solvent for paint and varnish products has been spilled along the Don River. Check this out.
И вот оно, видишь, оно усиляется.
Right there, you can see it well. The fact of the spill was announced by none other than the mayor of Rostov-on-Don, Alexei Lagunenko. The thing to know here, the thing to notice, the mayor is acting as a whistleblower. Never happens in Russia. Well, I don't remember even once that I heard something like that. And all of a sudden, the mayor of Rostov, I think he's not the mayor, he's a city manager, could be. So don't quote me on that. He's either mayor or a city manager. But anyway, the guy number 1 in the city of Rostov comes out and says, hey, this is the spill of solvent. And he shows it. No, big no for Russian officials. Well, the thing is, there's a new governor. He was the old one was fired, and the KGB started going after the old governor right away. And the Moscow sent the new government, and Lagvinenko is the man of the old governor, and Lagvinenko is trying to make the new governor look bad. Hey, under his governorship, bad things happen. Okay, so this is the example of how the bulldogs fighting under the carpet. Only I lift the carpet for you to see a little bit, just to take a peek underneath and see how they fight. Okay. Another utility news is about the elevators. The Ministry of Construction postponed the replacement of 64,000 elevators due to lack of funding. Hey, Russia's out of money. Russia is under economic tsunami, and that's what economic tsunami is. It kind of looks like is no money to replace the elevators. Mind you that every single Russian person who lives in an apartment has been paying every single month an amount of money, and it's called the amount of money, whatever, for capital refurbishment expense, okay? And that includes replacing the elevator. So that money simply has been stolen by the state, and they're saying, we cannot fix your apartments, although you've been paying for decades, just for this simple reason, to change the elevator. We cannot do that. There's simply no money. So look how elegantly they turn things around. The Council of the Eurasian Economic Commission. Notice, it's not the Russian state. It's not the Ministry of Construction. It is some weird organization, the Council of the Eurasian Economic Commission. Okay, basically, they made it up so if elevator falls down, there's no one to blame. Okay, if it's Russian state, hey, Russian officials to blame. Russian Ministry of Construction, there's a certain person to blame, to send to prison. But this Council of the Eurasian Economic Commission, who is there to blame? There's just a few countries got together, Kazakhstan, Belarus. We don't know. Who knows, So this council, this commission, has decided to extend the operation of elevators, which expire before February 15th, 2025, for another 5 years. You see, something is odd here, right? Let's just use common sense and logic. Elevator has a operational life. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's 30 years. You have to do regular maintenance, change the cables, perhaps oil, mechanisms, things like that. But then after 30 years, you must replace the entire elevator because it becomes unsafe. Okay, that's what the manufacturers of elevators, that's their rules. Okay, I'm not sure about 30 years. This is a hypothetical number, but there is a operational life of every elevator. And now, many of them, 64,000, the life ends or has already ended. And they need to be replaced. By some miraculous, this commission, this few people get together and they say, well, you know what? We overrule the manufacturers of elevators. We will make the elevators work for 5 more years. What the hell? The Ministry of Construction explained that the renovation of the elevator park requires about 195 billion rubles. Yeah, that's true. It requires lots of money. But these funds are not provided in the capital's repair program, although people have been paying for that. Now, the outdated elevators must be replaced no later than February 15th, 2030. You know, that's a scary news. There have been 2 instances where elevators, actually newer elevators, fell and people were killed. Both happened in Moscow, that's what I know of. Moscow City and one of them Moscow medical clinics. Multiple victims, they just simply fell down, these elevators. It's really scary to think about what's going to happen with this elevators. Anyway, now you know, 64,000 elevators have been extended in operation for 5 more years, regardless of what the manufacturers say. The next news is, about sometimes, how do I say that? In order to show life in Russia, it's not enough to talk about the economy or talk about people. You gotta look at so many things. You gotta look at so many small details, and you gotta put them together. And this is what I intend to do right now. This little things, they show what truly happens in Russia. Now, check this out.
Вот разве клиент всегда прав? Сегодня 2 января. Люди
This
не
is,
приносили свои елки, гирлянды по причине того, что ничего не работает. Хотя проверяешь, все работает. Просто Новый год прошел, зачем елка давайте сдадим? А предприниматели страдают, предприниматели за это деньги платят. И еще не факт, что это все в хорошем состоянии.
This is a businesswoman, and obviously she runs a small business. And what you're seeing in this video is a businesswoman complaining that the customers have begun returning artificial Christmas trees and New Year's love this word, paraphernalia. Okay, those little things, decorations, lights. They started returning it en masse after the holidays. They are coming up with different excuses, such as, "Well, we don't like it. The product didn't fit us. The product doesn't work." In reality, it works. In reality, it fits. It's just they bought it, they used, and they're returning to get their money back. And that never happened before in the past. I don't remember anything like that. It shows you that regular people have started struggling with affording even the cheapest things, decorations for New Year and Christmas. And this, to me, that's one of the signs that shows what really goes on the streets of Russia. Okay. The next news is it's crazy. The next news comes from Patriarch Kirill. Oops. This news actually was released by Russian propaganda agency TASS, and it's titled, "The West is Afraid of Spiritual Dominance of Russia." The West is afraid of the spiritual domination of Russian Federation. Kirill should take a closer look at his watches, cars, yachts, and all the equipment, all the electronics he uses on a daily basis and that is around him. I wonder who dominates there. Isn't Kirill riding in a Maybach instead of Lada? Kirill should take a look at the medical equipment in the hospital where he is examined and treated. Who dominates there? Kirill should look at his own wrist. The watches there is Rolex, not Polyot. Who dominates there? Why doesn't he wear Russian watch? Kirill needs to take a look at the TV that he watches. It's made in Japan, not in Tver. How come? Is it because Russia dominates all over the West? Nothing. Russia dominates nothing in nothing. Well, you know what? At the end, I know one thing that Russia really dominates everywhere, and it is Russian propaganda. That's what they can be proud about. I'm not sure if we can be proud of that, but that's the only thing. Everything else, no. The next news is unreal. I want to call out all the economists out there watching me right now. Because I economist by education. I love studying economy. I've studied economics. I have not heard anything remotely like that. This could be actually a new wave, a new school in economics. It could be a breakthrough in the science of economics. It should be studied, that stuff. Oh, check this out. Somehow my other camera gets turned on. Now, Russian propaganda has started explaining that the problems that Russian economy is currently going through are caused by too high of a growth of Russian economy. That's right. Their propaganda has started promoting the thesis that the inflation and price increases are the result of an overly good economic situation. Too good. Friends, I really don't know what to say. High inflation and price increases the result of overly good economic situation. All I can say as economist, it's too good to be true, but I'm not sure if it can be applied. So, anyone, do you know what the hell is going on? Do you know what they mean? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments, especially if you're an economist. Please, let me know. I would love to hear your opinion. All right. Before we move to the next news, the last news, I would like to ask you a favor. First of all, please like this video if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the channel if you're here for the first time. I promise you're going to find lots of interesting stuff. If you have listened to the news today, please pick 3 news you like the most. Let me know what they are down below in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion. That helps me to select news, more interesting news, more important news next time I do the update. Thank you so much. The last news and the most important news of this year, definitely, of the week 1 at least, in 2025, is the sanctions. 2 super important things happened last week. Number 1, the Chinese have closed a large key port, not just one, but a few key ports. The entry point for most sanctioned oil the United States is stepping in, and China is following. China, again, it's closing its key oil ports to the east of the country to Russian shadow fleet tankers that are on the US sanction list. China can say anything it wants of how it is a friend of Russia, how Xi Jinping likes Putin, how China and Russia are partners. That's talking the talk. But what's more important, how China walks the walk. First, earlier last year, starting February, China closed its large and then all banks. First, it was large banks, and then even smaller followed for transacting with Russian banks. Russians have an incredibly hard time transferring money to China to buy things. And then it is closing down its key ports, oil ports, joining the US sanctions. This action is serving Russia a huge blow from where Putin has certainly not expected. What's going to happen now is very simple. Russia is going to sell less oil to China. And number two, another batch of bad news is coming from America for Russia. The USA has imposed new sanctions against Russian state-controlled energy industry, enterprises, and people. The sanctioned companies include Gazprom Neft, Gazprom Shelf-Projekt, Surgutneftegas, and Rusgas Alliance. These companies have been sanctioned. The toughest sanctions at the moment, that's what we're seeing coming from the USA. This toughest sanctions affecting 180 tankers, oil tankers of the Russian shadow fleet. Americans have finally started, tightening the rope around Russia's neck. 180 tankers from Russia's shadow oil fleet. Insurance companies that are still working with Russian oil manufacturers, exporters, foreign traders that sell Russian oil, as well as more than 30 Russian controlled service companies, including RN Drilling, that's a Rosneft company, and OFS Technologies, which unites the former assets of Baker Hughes company in Russia. It is expected that these new restrictions will cost Russia billions of dollars every month in lost revenues, and as a result will hit the ruble exchange rate to dollar, yuan, and euro even stronger, and lead to further increase in Russia's central bank key interest rate. Large-scale sanctions against Russian energy sector will not pose a threat to global oil markets, at least in the foreseeable future, because there is no risk of supply shortages. In general, production is growing in the United States, and there is an oversupply of the domestic market. So Russian oil being pushed away out of the world markets is not going to be a disaster any longer. And this is a very bad news for Russia. Very serious. It is going to be adding to the economic tsunami big time. And I think that the end is nearing. I think that Putin is being cornered and he simply has nowhere to go and nothing to do. 2025 will be a tough year. Carthago delenda est.